The forbidden bride. No man who loves her ever returns. Long ago, in the heart of the forest, there was a village called Oru, surrounded by thick trees and a river that glowed silver under the moon. The people of Oru were strong and hardworking, but they lived in fear of something ancient, something hidden deep within the sacred groves. The shrine of the Serpent bride. The elders warned the villagers never to go near the shrine. It was said that a spirit resided there, a massive snake with eyes like burning coals. She would shift her form, taking on the appearance of a breathtaking woman, her beauty unlike anything mortal eyes had seen. But she was no ordinary spirit, she was a hunter. She lured men into the depths of the shrine, whispering promises of love and wealth. Those who followed never returned. Despite the warnings, young men often whispered of the legend at night, daring one another to seek out the shrine. They spoke of Inkiru, a boy from a neighboring village who had vanished 2 seasons ago. He had been last seen walking towards the forbidden grove, laughing with confidence. No one ever found his body. One man, however, did not fear the legend. Obinna, the son of the village blacksmith, strong and full of pride. Obinna did not believe in spirits or curses. "It's just a tale to keep children from wandering," he scoffed. "No spirit can take me." The elders watched him with weary eyes, their faces lined with worry, but they did not stop him. A man who does not believe in danger cannot be saved from it. One fateful evening, as the sun bled across the sky, Obinna followed the path to the forbidden shrine. He carried a small blade at his side, more out of habit than fear. The deeper he walked, the colder the air became. The wind stopped, the birds silenced, and an eerie stillness filled the air. And then he saw her. A woman stood beneath an ancient tree, her skin glowing like bronze in the fading sunlight. She wore a flowing red cloth, the color of fresh blood, wrapped tightly around her curves. Her long hair cascaded down her back, dark as the night itself. When she smiled, Obinna forgot how to breathe. Who are you?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Her lips curled into a knowing smile. "You already know who I am." A shiver ran down his spine. He had expected an illusion, a trick of the mind, but she was real, too real. "Come closer," she beckoned, her voice smooth as honey. Obinna hesitated, but his feet moved on their own. His heart pounded as he stepped forward. The woman's golden eyes glowed softly in the dim light, hypnotic and unreadable. "You are brave," she murmured, reaching out to touch his cheek. Her fingers were warm, impossibly soft. "Few men dare to seek me out." Obinna swallowed hard. "I am not afraid." Her smile widened. "Then stay with me." He should have run. Every bone in his body screamed at him to leave, but her touch was like fire, and it was already burning. That night, under the full moon, Obinna did not return to the village. The village of Oru slept soundly that night, unaware that Obinna had walked into the arms of something not of this world. But the next morning, his mother knew. A mother's heart always knows when a child is in danger. She waited by the doorway, staring down the path that led to the shrine. When the sun rose high in the sky and her son still had not returned, She let out a wail so sharp it cut through the morning air like a blade. The elders gathered quickly, their expressions grim. "He has been taken," they murmured, shaking their heads. But Obina's younger sister, Adanna, refused to accept it. "We must go after him," she pleaded, gripping Elder Inwosu's arm. "We cannot leave him to die." The old man's face was carved with sorrow. "No one who enters the shrine returns, child." But Adanna was not afraid. She ran to Okoro, the village's eldest hunter, a man who had once survived a night in the deep forest where spirits walked. She begged him for help. "You are the only one strong enough to face her," she said. "Please, Okoro, you knew my brother when he was a boy. Will you not fight for him?" Okoro did not answer right away. He sat in place, staring into the fire that burned in the center of his hut. The flames reflected in his dark eyes, making him look like a man who had already seen too much. Finally, he spoke. "There is one way," he said, his voice low, "but it is dangerous." The villagers gathered as Okoro prepared a sacred charm, a small bag of crushed herbs and bone dust. Tied together with twine, he placed it into Adanna's trembling hands. "This will protect you from our song," he said. "The Serpent Bride lures men with her voice. If you hear it, you will follow her into the dark, just like your brother." Adanna swallowed hard. "And if I resist?" Okoro's jaw tightened. "Then she will come for you another way." The village elders warned her journey was foolish, but Adanna did not listen. She left before the sun had fully set, stepping into the thick shadows of the forest alone. The deeper she walked, the more the world changed. The trees loomed taller. The air thickened as though the forest itself was breathing. The wind no longer whistled, it whispered. And then she heard her brother's voice. "Adanna." Her heart leapt. She turned sharply, scanning darkness. "Obina, come," he said softly. "I am waiting." Adanna took a step forward, then froze. She gripped the charm Okoro had given her, the rough twine biting into her palm. This was not her brother's voice. It was too sweet, too smooth. A trick. Adanna's pulse pounded as she backed away. "I am not afraid of you," she whispered. The voice laughed. It was no longer Obina's, it was hers, the Serpent's Bride. "Brave girl," the voice purred. "You came for your brother." A shadow moved ahead. A figure stepped into the clearing, draped in a red cloth that clung to her perfect form. She was more beautiful than anything Adanna had ever seen. Too beautiful. Her skin gleamed under the moonlight. Her golden eyes flashed like a predator's. But it was her smile, a slow, knowing curve of her lips that made Adanna's blood run cold. The Serpent Bride tilted her head. "Tell me, child, do you really wish to take your brother's place?" Adanna's breath caught. She had walked into the lion's den, and the lion was hungry. Adanna's throat was dry, her body frozen as the Serpent Bride took a slow step forward. The woman's beauty was unnatural, perfect, hypnotic, dangerous. But Adanna saw what others failed to see. The shadow beneath her feet rippled like water. Her fingers were too long, her nails curved like claws, and when she smiled, her tongue flickered like a snake's. Adanna swallowed hard. "Where's my brother?" The Serpent Bride let out a low chuckle, her voice like silk sliding over a blade. Alive, for now. She reached out, tracing a delicate finger along Adanna's cheek. Her touch was ice. But if you wish to take his place, child, her golden eyes gleamed, then I will accept. Adanna clenched her fist. She had expected a battle, a trick, a test, but a bargain? The Serpent Bride watched her with amusement, as though she was nothing more than a foolish little girl who had stumbled into a world she did not understand. Why did you do this? Adanna asked, her voice steady despite the fear twisting inside her. Why steal men from my village? The Serpent Bride's expression darkened. You speak as if I hunt them. She turned away, walking slowly toward the great tree at the heart of the shrine. The roots curled like snakes, written in the dirt. They come willingly, she continued, drawn by greed, by desire, by arrogance. She glanced over her shoulder, her gaze sharp. Just like your brother. Adanna flinched. That's not true. The Serpent Bride smiled again, slow and knowing. Isn't it? A deep hiss echoed from the shadows. The ground trembled and something massive stirred behind the tree. Adanna's breath caught as a colossal serpent slithered forward, its scales dark as midnight, its eyes burning like embers. It curled itself around the base of the tree, its massive head lowering until it hovered just behind the woman's shoulder. The truth crashed over Adanna like a wave. This woman was not a spirit, she was the snake herself. The Serpent Bride turned, her fingers brushing along the beast's scales. You humans call me a monster. Her golden eyes flickered towards Adanna. But tell me, when men force themselves upon the land, stripping it of its treasures, hunting its creatures, taking what does not belong to them, do you call them monsters? Adanna's breath itched. The Serpent Bride leaned closer, her voice a whisper. They come to me, she said, and they are never satisfied. Adanna's hands trembled, but she lifted her chin. Then let my brother go. If you are not a monster, prove it. The Serpent Bride studied her, silent. Then slowly she smiled. Very well, she murmured. A trade. Adanna's pulse pounded. A trade? You take his place, the Serpent Bride said simply. Stay here, belong to me. A pause. Or, her golden eyes gleamed. I let him go and I take another in his place, a young one untouched by time. A chill ran down Adanna's spine. She knew who the serpent meant, her little brother. A choice, an impossible one. She could leave Obinna to his fate, let the serpent take another and return home with her life. Or she could offer herself in his place. Adanna's heart thundered. The wind howled around her, the trees whispering secrets she could not understand. Slowly, she lifted her gaze. I choose. Are you enjoying the story so far? Please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more beautiful stories like this. As always, enjoy the story. Adanna's hands clenched into fists, her mind racing. She could not let the serpent take another innocent life. She would not. She raised her chin, her voice unwavering. I choose to stay. The Serpent Bride's smile widened. Brave girl. She She lifted a hand, and the great serpent uncoiled. From the shadows, a figure stumbled forward. Obinna. His skin was pale, his body weak, but his eyes snapped to Adanna with sudden clarity. "No," he rasped. "Adanna, no." She ignored him. The serpent bride took a step forward, her golden eyes glowing like the rising sun. A wind rushed through the clearing, whispering with voices unseen. The roots of the great tree curled tighter, as if the land itself was waking. Obinna struggled to move, but something held him back. A force, a will stronger than his own. "Take him," Adanna said, her voice calm. "Let him leave." The serpent bride tilted her head. "And what of you, little one?" Adanna swallowed hard. She knew what this meant. A lifetime of servitude, a fate sealed, but she did not hesitate. "I stay." A long silence followed. Then the serpent bride lifted a hand and snapped her fingers. The air shimmered, the world shifted, and suddenly Obinna was gone. Adanna's breath caught. She turned, her eyes scanning the clearing, but there was nothing, no trace of him. Had he made it back? Was he safe? Or had she been tricked? The serpent bride stepped closer, her voice soft. "A willing sacrifice," she murmured. "How rare." She reached out, trailing a hand along Adanna's cheek. The touch sent ice through her veins. "You will make a fine bride." Adanna did not flinch. She met the woman's gaze, her fear buried deep beneath her resolve. And then, the serpent bride smiled. The world around Adanna blurred. Darkness swallowed her whole. And the last thing she heard was the hissing of the great serpent. Darkness. It wrapped around Adanna like a second skin, thick and suffocating. For a moment, she felt as if she had been swallowed whole, sinking into the belly of something ancient. Then suddenly, light. Adanna gasped, blinking rapidly as her vision adjusted. She was no longer in the forest, no longer in the world she had known. She stood in a vast cavern, glowing with an airy golden light. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and something else. Something sweet like honey, but laced with poison. The walls glowed, covered in serpentine scales that pulsed with each breath she took. The ground beneath her feet was not solid. It shifted and moved, alive with unseen forces, and in the center of it all stood her. The serpent bride was different now. Her red cloth was gone, replaced by golden silks that clung to her like liquid light. Her hair, once black at night, now shimmered like sunlight on water. But her eyes, those golden, hungry eyes, remained the same. Adanna's pulse pounded. "Where am I?" she whispered. The serpent bride smiled. "In my domain," she said simply. "You are home now, little one. Home." The word sent a chill through Adanna's bones. This was no home. This was a prison. Adanna took a step back, her mind racing. "You said I would stay," she said carefully. "You never said how." The serpent bride chuckled, low and rich. "Does it matter?" She moved towards Adanna, graceful as flowing water, her golden silks whispering against the ground. "You belong to me now," she said. "As you wished." Adanna's breath came in short gasps. She had known the price. She had chosen this. But she had not expected this. The serpent bride lifted a hand, and the ground beneath Adanna shuddered. A deep rumbling hiss filled the air. The great serpent, the true form of the bride, rose from the shadows, its massive body calling around the cavern walls. Its eyes burning like molten gold, locked onto Adanna, and then it struck. Adanna screamed as the massive serpent lunged and swallowed her whole. For a moment there was nothing but darkness, then pain, a searing burning pain that started in her chest and spread throughout every limb. Her skin tingled, her bones shifted, she felt herself changing. When Adanna opened her eyes again, they were gold. Her hands trembled, her nails now sharp as talons. Her skin gleamed, no longer fully human. A deep, ancient knowledge flooded her mind, voices whispering secrets she had never known. She understood now. She had not just become the Serpent Bride's servant, she had become the next Serpent Bride. The old bride stepped back, watching her with satisfaction. "Now you see," she murmured. "This is the way it has always been. One must take the throne when the other tires. It was never about stealing men." She smiled, tilting her head. "It was about choosing the next queen." Adanna's breath itched. She was no longer just Adanna. She was something more, something older, something eternal. And for the first time, she understood why the Serpent Bride had never been defeated. Because she had once been like Adanna, and now Adanna was her. Back in the village, Obinna woke up with a start. He had no memory of how he returned, only a dull ache in his chest where something had been turned away. He turned to his mother, eyes filled with panic. "Where is Adanna?" She did not answer. Because deep in the forest, in the heart of the shrine, a new Serpent Bride had been born. The end. We hope you enjoyed the story you just watched. Please subscribe to our channel and like this video as it helps us create more videos like this for you to enjoy. Thank you.